Hi folks, it's Will at LR Workshop, and in this video I'm going to be replacing the panhard rod on my Defender. And the job should be as easy as taking off this bolt and then taking off this bolt, and that should be it. It's a 22mm socket, which I don't have two of them, and I don't have a spanner, so I've had to use an adjustable, which isn't great, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, well, it's moving. This is a 6-point socket, which means it's quite hard. You've got to move the breaker bar quite a long way to be able to get it onto the next flat. Luckily, there's space in here where you can rotate the breaker bar. Let's see if we can get this. Enough space you can rotate the breaker bar up, at least on a 300 TDI, into this space. However, if your socket and breaker bar is well wider than that, this one just fits, then you'd have a bit of a problem. Otherwise you'd have to use if you didn't have the reach, you'd need to use a bi-hex socket, 12-sided socket, which are usually rubbish and round off bolts. This is moving quite freely though, which is good. But I am going to start having a problem though. I say that, I am going to start having a problem as this bolt comes out. Unless I hammer it forward and keep moving the nut further that way, which I might have to do. Just going to leave the bolt in until I've done the other one. Let's try and make this a bit easier for myself. Of course it does. There we go. Panhard rod removed.
Now the reason I'm changing the panhard rod is because of the bushes. I didn't particularly know that they were particularly bad. There wasn't that much play in them, but upon getting them out you can see that they're a bit ropey. They've seen better days. They're still kind of solid, there's not extreme play in there, but they're old. They may even be the originals, 21 years old. Now these are press bushes, and they're an incredible pain to get in and out for a DIY mechanic, unless you have a press, which I don't. And I've tried the vice method before and I've actually broken a vice. I don't want to go messing around with that. The bushes will probably set you back 20 quid, but for about 40 quid you can get one of these. Brand new panhard rod with the bushes already installed, because luckily there's a Land Rover part number that well, actually, when the part number to buy the panhard rod does include the bushes. You can buy these separately, but you can buy a panhard rod for only a little bit more, and then you've just got to swap the rods over. And then this one can be my spare, and I can just change the bushes at some point in slow time, and then somehow, and then I've got a spare on the shelf in case these ever go. I'm also replacing the bolts with new ones. Now these nuts on the bolts are quite special. You can see that they're squashed kind of at the far end. What can happen, this is the old bolt, there's no wear on it, but particularly I've seen on expedition vehicles, there's a little bit of wear potentially on there, because part of the bush sits on here, part of it sits on here, but really the bush is supposed to be held by clamping force either side. It shouldn't really be using the bolt to hold it. It should be the clamping force that holds the bolt in place, holds the bush in place. But sometimes you can get the bolt wears along here on heavily used off-road vehicles like expedition vehicles, and you get a lot of clanking in the arm because of wear on here.
Copper grease is your friend. Repeat after me, it is my friend. What do you know, the bolt does get fit. Don't drop it in the crud. Ugh. Copper grease is your enemy. Repeat after me, copper grease is your enemy. And then it's only a couple of men out. Give the chassis an elbow in the right direction. There we go. That's the technique I used. Put my foot up there and push that way. It gets it lined up. You can see how much movement there is just with the bolt in. And that's why the torque on these bolts is so incredibly important.
And there is the finished arm. The torque on these nuts on pre-2002 is 88 Newton meters, and the torque on the later arms is 230. That's more than double. So you can see just how important how important the clamping force is of this U-channel on this bolt to hold it in place. It's not actually the bolt that stops the bush moving this way and up and down. It's the clamping force on here that is important. The fact that Land Rover updated it to such a high figure on later models probably means there's a problem with they saw a problem with some of these bushes not working appropriately, or the suspension system not working appropriately. But that's all back on. So that was changing the panhard rod on a Defender. It actually went easier than I thought it might. I thought the bolts were going to be really rusted in, but these things turned out to be, they look quite new. But the bushes don't look new, so these could be the original. These could be 20 years old, so they've survived better than I thought. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.